The sun, they say, was the first one who spied Mars and Venus while they were making love. The sun offended, went to her husband Vulcan and told him all, the when, the where, the how. And Vulcan dropped whatever he was doing and started to make a net with such fine links of bronze that no eye could see the mesh. The slightest touch would bend it. The slightest movement would make it give. When the two lovers came there again, the husband's cunning art caught them and held them fast. The two lie there, in bondage, in disgrace. The Venus flytrap, a plant whose allure is its ability to capture and digest its prey, was named after the goddess Venus. She ruled over love, sex, fertility, and beauty, and destroyed many lovers in her wake. Poets Ovid, Diane Lockward, and Kristen Optowitz explore a similarly carnivorous love. Trapping Venus, a program of poetry. Because my husband did not read my poems, I wrote one about how I did not love him. In lines of strict iambic pentameter, I detailed his coldness, his lack of humor. It felt good to do this. Stanza by stanza, I grew bolder and bolder, and towards the end, struck by inspiration, I wrote about my old boyfriend. A boy who I had not loved enough to marry, but who could make me laugh and laugh. I wrote about a night years after we parted, when my husband's coldness drove me from the house. And back to my old boyfriend. I even included the name of a seedy motel well known for hosting quickies. I have a talent for verisimilitude. In sensuous images, I described how my boyfriend and I stripped off our clothes, got into bed, and kissed, and kissed. Then spent half the night telling jokes, many of them about my husband. I left the ending deliberately ambiguous and hid the poem away in an old trunk in the basement. You know how this story ends. How my husband loses something one day, goes into the basement, rummages through the old trunk, uncovers the hidden poem, and sits down to read it. But do you hear the strange sounds that came up the stairs that day? The sounds of an animal, its paw caught in one of those traps with teeth of steel. Do you see the wounded creature at the bottom of the stairs, shoulders hunched over and shaking, fist in his mouth, choking back sobs? It was my husband paying tribute to my art. Don't say you didn't see this coming, Jason. Don't say that you didn't realize that this would be my reaction, or that you never intended for me to get all worked up. Because if that were true, then you are dumber than Lenny from Of Mice and Men, blinder than Oedipus, can feel less than a Dalton Trumbo character. You put the Dick in Dickens, the Boo in Kowski, and are more cowardly than Null. But you don't understand any of these references, do you, Jason? Because you don't read. You're a geology major, and you once told me that scientists don't read popular literature, Kristen. We have more important things to do. Well, screw you, Jason. You are more absurd than Ionesco, more inconsistent than Agatha Christie, and more satanic than Rushdie's verses. I can't believe I used to want to Sappho you, Jason. I used to want to Pablo Neruda you, to Aeneas Nin and Henry Miller you. I used to want to be O for you, to blow for you in ways that even Odysseus' sails couldn't handle. But self-imposed literacy is not a turn-on. You used to make fun of me for being a writer, saying scientists cure diseases, so what do writers do? But of course you wouldn't understand, Jason. I mean, have you ever gotten an inner thirsting for Nora Zeal Hurston? Have you ever heard angels herald for you to read F. Scott Fitzgerald? Have you ever gotten a beat attack for Jack Kerouac? The only Morrison you know is Jim, and you think you're the noble one. Go Plath yourself. And some people might say that this poem is just a pretentious exercise in seeing how many literary references I can come up with. And some people might say that this poem is, at its core, shallow, expressing the same emotion again and again and again. I mean, there are only so many times you can express your contempt for Jason before people get bored. But you know what, Jason? Those people would be wrong. Because this is not the poem I'm writing to express my hatred for you. This is the poem I am writing because we aren't speaking and it's making my heart hurt so bad. It's all I can do just to get up off the floor sometimes. And this is the poem I am writing instead of writing the I miss having breakfast with you poem. Instead of the let's go walk our dogs in the old schoolyard again poem. Instead of the I wish I was making fun of how much you like Garth Brooks in your truck in front of your parents' house poem. This is the poem I am writing so I can stop wanting to write them. I could fall in love with you again so quickly. If you would only say one more word to me, poem. But I am tired. I am tired of loving you, Jason, because you do not love me right. And if some pretentious-ass poem can stop me from thinking about the way you smell, about the way your skin feels in the rain, about how I would rather be miserable with you than happy with anyone else in the world. If some pretentious-ass poem can do all of that, then I am gone with the wind, I am on the road, I have flown over the frickin' cuckoo's nest. I am gone. I am gone. I am gone.